So when we think of like, other remedies that come into place for police misbehavior, right? There's a opportunity to focus on maybe something a bit more proactive, right? And so in most cases, we are talking about like proactive duties and like what we want out of them, right? Typically want these because they're designed to be preventative, right? So that things like don't even happen, right? Because if they don't even happen, there's no question of policy. We don't have to interview, kind of things. We don't have to like get to the root of it. We don't have to pay a settlement, right? Because really the best thing for like misconduct, right, is its absence, right? So we want to have the absence of misconduct. So we have the absence of misconduct in the hope that this leads to better outcomes. So if we think about this in a context, right, probably the most significant one is probably when body-worn cameras came out, right? So if we think about this, I'm trying to draw like a HAL electric eye from the movie 2001: Space Odyssey. If you haven't seen it, you should, right? So when we think about, this, like a body-worn camera, it sort of looks like this. Seriously, you should see it. 2001: A Space Odyssey, because there's like apes, and when they first get hit with knowledge, right, they go bananas. It's kind of fun because they touch like a big black rock. Like it's like an obelisk, right? An obsidian, like an obsidian obelisk. Yeah, a big, yeah, there we go. So if we think about like this body-worn camera kind of thing, what ends up, happening, right, is that we have these body-worn cameras, right? The idea is that if this is attached to an officer, they can keep eyes on police civilian encounters, right? So if you think about it, right? We have like this eye. If we like post this like into a like a little quick little drawing, right? Is that if I'm the officer and I'm in blue because I'm a police officer, and attached to me, right, I have my little box, my little camera that's attached to like my lapel, or maybe sometimes they're in eyeglasses. Sometimes they're on like the shoulder guard kind of thing. And I encounter, someone who is a, civilian kind of type, a neutral party, right? The idea, right, is that this eye, from the officer perspective, right, can keep, track of things, right? So I guess that's something to keep in mind too, right? Is that this monitors from an officer perspective, right? So it's not, purely objective in the sense like it includes what the civilians saw and or like, from like not even necessarily what they saw per se, but like from a detached kind of point of view, right? It's about, since it's attached to it, it is naturally coming from an officer point of view, which we'll call a point of view, right? And so if we think about what happens in this, right, like why are these expected to work, right? So if we think about what this is involved with, why it might work. First part, right, is that maybe, this is going to be a deterrent effect. So in this case, then, the perceived certainty of getting caught is going to lead to less misbehavior. So in this particular case, right? So because I'm being watched, I know like there's a recording going to be, and I know that if I do something that I'm not supposed to, it'll immediately be seen, captured, recorded automatically, and then it will have this deterrent effect because I know I'm going to face consequences. The other part too, so another possibility, right, is that this will civilize the encounter. And the case then is that the officer and civilian act, nicer, less heated, and as a result of this, right, there's no opportunity for escalation or less of an opportunity. And because there's less of an opportunity, right, there's less opportunity for misconduct. This is especially true that if you think in this particular case, right, the officer says some magic words. In this case, like that I'm turning the camera on, this will be recorded. So the officer themselves is reminded that they're on camera, and that the civilian also knows they're on camera because they've been reminded of it, right? So by doing this, using these magic words, right? It's supposed to be the activation point for this process.